Wow. So this is it. Here we go. Alright, so I think the best way... You know what? I'm not going to restart the video. I know the best way. I'm certain the best way to do a testimonial, an honest review, is with two things. Not second guessing what I say, being certain you get what you get, raw, real. And number two, taking you through my TechnoTutor journey. And if you like what you hear, if you like what you feel, if you like what you see on the screen, or you like what you see in your mind, it's easy to get a hold of me. As long as you tell me your name and why you're trying to get a hold of me, I will respond. Okay. So, yeah, basically, yeah, I'm not going to second guess it. I'm not. Cancel, squash them. So, let's go back to, like, before I got TechnoTutor. Yeah. So, right before I got TechnoTutor, it was a December 2022. I had 3 months no alcohol, 3 months plus, which was really good for me at the time in 2022. I was about 25 years old, so I was still learning that alcohol is not best, but we'll get into that. Okay, so I'm with my ex-girlfriend at the time. I won't mention her name. And it ended with physical abuse. I just want y'all to see, like, the start, like, how it progresses. So it ended with physical abuse, and then I'm driving in the snow, and then I get home, and my mom tells me that my grandpa died. I'm like, oh, so now my mom's mom and her dad are now dead. I can only imagine what that felt like for her. And during December, you know, I had the money saved up. I finally had the money saved up. And I was like, man, should I buy this TechnoTutor thing? Is it really worth it? And I took a risk. Taking risks is the most rewarding mindset you can have. Okay, maybe not the most, but one of the most rewarding mindsets you can have. Don't want y'all robbing and shooting people. So, I drank after my mom told me. I drank, and guess what I did after I drank? I only drank 2 pints, like 32 fluid ounces of some beer. Not even like high percentage alcohol. Guess what I did? I just laid in bed for like 24 hours or longer. I literally just slept. And I'm like, wow, like, I woke up and I'm like, oh, wait. Oh, I had that appointment. Yeah, it was so interesting how the law of attraction made it all happen. I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, I have that appointment with my boy. Okay. Yeah, he's supposed to give me the TechnoTutor. Okay. And I'm like, man, and it was funny too. I was actually hungover and I didn't want to go, but he called me and he's like, come on, bro. It won't take that long. You won't regret it. And I'm like, all right. So I go over there hungover, and man, I could tell y'all even more stories because this is not where TechnoTutor started for me, but for the sake of being concise, I don't want to go over an hour with this video. So I go get the TechnoTutor, and I remember I had to get it activated. And I finally got it activated like the next day. And I think the first day I did it was December 31st, 2022. My boy was like, yeah, man, only do basics for the first week and then you can move on to customs, but just start with basics. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he also hooked me up with some really good advice. He said, whatever you do, don't do it high or drunk. You can smoke as much weed as you want after, but do the TechnoTutor sober. Do the TechnoTutor sober every morning. Woo! 2 years later, what a difference I see. Wow. What a difference I understand. What a difference I realize. So yeah, I was like, okay. And it was funny, my first time doing it, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it sober. And then right after I do it, to celebrate, I'm gonna take these mushrooms. I changed so fast thanks to this. I remember I took the mushrooms and I felt good, but I felt a bit off. I felt a bit weird on the mushrooms, like I haven't felt before. More lonely than usual. More dead inside than I used to be when I would do them. Magic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms. And, the next day I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it was just a celebration. It's over. Time to get down to it. So I started with putting affirmations in. I'm going to try to be deep. I'm not going to try. I'm going to be as detailed as I can, but also fit it within an hour. I might go over time. If I feel that will benefit you. So bear with me, because this is quite a journey. So I started with putting affirmations in. I've been saying these affirmations out loud for like 2 years in a row. No, longer. Ooh. Wait, actually, hold up. Yeah, for 2 years. I've been saying these affirmations for about 2 years. Maybe 2.5, maybe 3. But I know 2 years for sure. And it's interesting. It's like, I would say them out loud many times. I would say all 30 something of them out loud many times. And I would do this stretching while I do it, and I would smile and really feel what I'm saying. But I couldn't live it in a practical way consistently. I could feel it, but then it would go away. Because I wasn't integrating the information into my physical body. We'll get into that. All right. So I put all these affirmations in, and it was so cool. So what I noticed, the first thing I noticed with TechnoTutor is I had a unclear, cloudy, and cluttered mind. And I was like, okay. Because what I noticed is, so basically, what my distributor also told me to do is he also told me to write the word that I flash, but also the first thought that comes up in parentheses. And I noticed 3 thoughts would come up at once. 3 at once. And I was like, which one came first? So what happened after a month of using TechnoTutor? Just a month. Key. I used it every day. Every day. Every day. Sober. Every day. I started getting more clear on which thought was actually coming first. We have 60,000 thoughts a day. That's probably the minimum. I think that's the average. There we go. Average of 60,000 thoughts a day. Yeah. So it could be the minimum. But it could. And literally I went from having 3 thoughts at once and not being able to tell which one came first to 2 thoughts at once. And then finally, after a month, I went down to 1 thought. After a month, I went from having 3 thoughts at once, which overwhelms you and makes you feel like a crazy person, to only having 1 thought. Imagine how calming that is. That's after a month of using TechnoTutor. I also started to feel better because of this. I started to feel like I was more at cause with my mind, more in control of my mind, which I should be, because it's my mind, you know? And yeah, I started to feel better because I'm like, even if I went back to having like 2 thoughts at once, or even 3, I could easily decipher which one came first. And the one that came first was the most clear, and the most meaningful, and the most interesting. Also, the most self-honest. So we're going to get into that now. So February. So what I did in February was I really fell in love with the word best. I literally just kept flashing the word best every day because it has multiple definitions, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, which definition do I want to live? And it was really cool. I just, I made a bunch of A words, and I was like, best attitude, you know, best attraction, best abilities. And yeah, that's what I was doing, I think, for the second month. No, I know for the second month, that's what I was doing. I have the history on my app, on my software. So yeah, like, I was doing the best routine. That was my new thing. So I went to affirmations, and then I went to best. And then, by the way, one of the last few affirmations was about having a clear mind. So, and the only reason I'm interrupting my flow is so I can give as much necessary detail as I can, so you can get as much as you can out of this video. So then, I was doing the best, and I started feeling way better than I've ever felt. I started believing in myself way more than I've ever believed in myself. Way more. It was very interesting. Like, I felt better and more, I felt more confident than I've ever felt the more I was doing this. And I was like, okay, cool. And then also the self-honesty aspect. So that's what I'll also talk about. I think that also helped with, you know, feeling better and being more confident, like knowing what I really feel and what I really think, you know, instead of being confused, like which one of these 3, you know. So the self-honesty, that's what I saw a lot, is the thought that wasn't self-honest was the second or third thought. But the thought that was extremely self-honest was the first thought. And it could have been even painful too. It was very interesting. I guess I recommend when you're first starting, don't write this stuff in blue ink. How you do TechnoTutor, if you decide to do TechnoTutor, it will evolve a lot over time. So I'm showing you where I was when I started. So so self-honesty on the second month, I was like, whoa, okay, so like this is what I really feel and this is what I really think. And I learned how to not judge that. Yeah, you know what? I wasn't perfect at removing judgment yet, but I already started the process of, hey man, this is like my diary. I'm not going to judge the shit I write in here. Like I had a lot of sexual shit. I'll tell you that right now. My first time doing TechnoTutor, ex-girlfriend and the word dick came up. And that's just from like letters. I was like, whoa. When I see that letter, I literally think about sex and my ex-girlfriend. Whoa, bro. We need to change that. So that's what I was doing, I was getting really self-honest with it. I was like, okay, so this is what I'm really thinking when I see this word. When I think this thought, when I see this thought in my mind, this is what follows. And this is my self-honesty. Not the truth, but my self-honest impulse reaction. So that was really cool. Third month, more confident, for sure more confident at this point. You have to do it every day. If you miss a day, do twice the amount the next day. It's 100% worth it. And so third month. This is where I started to realize, and actually, you know what? I didn't even fully realize it or understand it yet. I just started to see a glimpse of how much gets created in my mind, but also how much I can change and how much I can create how much of what I want I can create if I change my thinking. And I also was really clear on what my actual thoughts were versus what I perceived my thoughts to be. That was cool. I love that. So, it's like I'm doing the TechnoTutor every day. This is when I started integrating do not criticize, condemn, or complain. I was reading this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I was like, there's definitely some stuff I want to integrate from this book. So I was working on that. I was like, all right, I want to, stop criticizing, condemning, and complaining. It's interesting. I didn't get to stop that right away. We'll get to that. I didn't have control right away. But what was happening was I had such clarity. So I'll tell you another experience involving a woman. I never had this. I never really had this. To be honest, this is my first time experiencing this level of self-honesty and also a desire for self-perfection. A burning desire, a yearning. So my ex-girlfriend, one of the other ex-girlfriends, hits me up and deep down, so her intention was to restart the relationship with me, right? And I never had this level of self-honesty. in my gut and in my mind, I could feel that this person wants a relationship with me and I don't want a relationship with them. But I wanted sex, and this confusion, or like this inner conflict, because I stopped being confused at one point, you know? Like this inner conflict was hard to process, really hard to process. But it was kind of like a miracle. What I did is I ended up getting this steezy oil cartridge. I'll pronounce it right for you Californians. I'm sure you get a kick out of that, right? So yeah, it's like I bought this steezy oil cartridge to be okay with the fact that I was like using this woman. Like I was using this woman for sex. I didn't even realize it or understand it yet. I just saw it. I just saw the image in my mind. Like I saw I saw things in my mind that I've never seen before. Even when I was high, you know? And it wouldn't leave my mind. Like, I'm just gonna be real. Yeah, I'm gonna get intimate with this. I was having sex with her and it just kept saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You're not being self-honest right now. You're not creating what you want. You're not changing. You're going back to your old self. I never heard a voice in my head that loud. And actually, for a long time, I couldn't even hear it really. All I could do was see it. So I never saw like this clear thinking and this desire for change as much as I saw it during those experiences with her. And I saw how she hadn't changed either. And I just told her. I had to just tell her. I'm like, hey. And it was interesting too. Like I noticed, you know how sex is. I was like, I love you. You know how it is. You cuddle and all that. But really, it just kept knocking on my door. And I just had to tell her, I'm like, hey, I want what's best for you, but I don't actually love you like I thought I loved you. I don't want to be in a relationship. And yeah, I think that's what I said. I was like, I don't actually love you like I say, and I don't want to be in a relationship, even though I gave off that vibe. It was such a moment, you know, like now when I look back on it, I'm like, and then also, you know, like when she came over, of course, that's when I stopped doing my TechnoTutor. But it was interesting. Right after I did my TechnoTutor, that's when I told her. And yeah, it was such a moment of self-honesty. That was my first really intense moment of self-honesty, where I saw how I was lying to myself and others as a habit. And I was justifying it with THC. So after I cut that relationship off, I got a lot after that. I got a lot of clarity of what I want. I saw extremely clearly what I didn't want, and that's why I didn't love her, and that's why I didn't want a relationship. But then I saw the opposite of that, which I've never seen so clearly. Actually being able to clearly see in my mind what I really, really, really want from a girlfriend. And I was like, wow, I need to make a change. And I will say, one of those things is I want a healthy, fit-looking girlfriend. I want a girlfriend that reminds me of me. And yeah, the confidence that came after that. The confidence that came after that was insane. Not even insane, it was just beyond what I was expecting. It was like, yeah, after 3 months of doing TechnoTutor in a row, and the key is consistency. Consistency, yes, okay, there we go. My consistency. After 3 months of doing TechnoTutor in a row, I might have had a clear mind, but I was also the most consistent I've ever been. Because yeah, I was like, hey, every day we do our TechnoTutor. No matter what. And you do it sober. No matter how you're feeling. I had moments, my first year, there were moments when I was yelling at the TechnoTutor. I would stop midway and freak out. But I was processing my emotions. And I knew that I was consistent. I knew that even if I had to freak out for a moment, I would go right back to the TechnoTutor. I was so consistent. I was more consistent than I've ever been in my whole entire life. Yeah, it was, and the best part about that consistency is I had to force it less and less and less as the time went on. But yeah, after 3 months, that's when I had the most consistency I've ever had. Because I was like, wow, I don't want to do this. This is boring. This doesn't make me feel good. But I did it anyways. And that was huge. It was huge. And then 3 months no alcohol at that point too. I was like, cool. And I was like, I'm going to get 5 months no alcohol. It was really, really cool. Wow. Okay, so 4th month. After the 3 months, I got hella consistency, hella clear thinking. And then the 4th month, decision making became easier. What I realized, now we're going to get into realize. What I realized is by realizing, by the way, it means you make it real. So instead of just seeing it, you're actually seeing it in your mind, you're actually seeing it in physical reality. You're noticing it. I realized that when I have 4 options to choose from, that creates doubt. Because I was doing audio engineering, and I was like, there were moments where I was like, which one sounds better? Which one sounds better? But I set a deadline. I'm like, hey, I gotta, finish this beat by the end of this month. But what I realized was 4 options creates doubt. 3 options to choose from, that's all right. You might not have doubt with that. Because doubt is just doublethink. It's just second guessing. It's going back and forth instead of just picking one and sticking with it. And then I realized, boom, when you only have 2 options, that's best. That's totally best right there. When there's only 2 options, that's so best right there. Oh man, it dawned upon me. I was like, wow, okay, so this is one of the secrets I've been missing this whole time. Is you boil it down to 2 options, super easy to pick. Just pick one. Vanilla or chocolate. Boom. So decision making became easier. Also, my ability to investigate my emotions, feelings, thoughts, and patterns became easier. And my ability to not judge myself became easier. My ability to forgive myself became easier. By forgive, I mean like stop blaming, like just let it go. Like my ability to let go became easier in a way that I've never had it before. 5th month, this is where it gets really fun. We go into Mitch's quick start. Shout out to Mitch Snyder. And that opened up a lot of my mind, but what it opened up a lot was self-responsibility. I saw how blame was the opposite of self-responsibility. And I saw how I had this automatic habit of blaming others. Like being like, oh man, like, you don't understand. Like, you said this to me. Like, oh, like, it's your fault. Like, if only you were different, then I would have a better life. I would feel better. I fucking hate you. But I realized that. I was not doing what's best, and that I was holding myself back from being happier and also taking more responsibility. So after Mitch's quick start, what I really realized, I still didn't fully understand it, but I realized, I saw the patterns in reality, was that I'm the creator of my emotions, feelings, and thoughts. I own this. I own my mind. My mind is my mind. So when I react to someone, I'm giving them power, but I'm also not taking responsibility for my mind. And I started to get kind of like an obsession with like, I want to be 100% self-responsible. And that was really cool. I never had it at that level of like craving control over my mind, craving the ability to breathe and respond instead of automatically reacting. So now I went to the self-perfected event. That was really cool. So that's another thing too, where I took responsibility. I realized, hey man, you've been doing it this way for a long time. You have to take responsibility and try something completely new. I went to my first event. I guess you could call it my first network marketing event, which was extremely intimidating. And I even had to like bring edibles. Yeah, and it was funny. I lied to people too. I lied to them like, yeah, I'm not high. I don't count this as being high. Yeah, maybe the first day when I took one gummy, I wasn't high. But bro, after you take 2 gummies on an empty stomach, and your mind wants to get high, you're going to get high. And it was interesting. Like, I acted normal. People accepted me. But now I did a speech on stage. But I was under the influence because I wasn't taking 100% self-responsibility for my mind and really creating the emotions, feelings, and thoughts that I want all on my own. Because you can do it. In case you didn't know. So I went to the event and I came back like a changed man. Like, I was like super social, but I was also super self-aware. Like really self-aware in a way that I did not expect. Like, for example, at the event, the final day, you know what? Yeah. I don't want to share too much. If you want, you can ask me about it, because for the sake of time. But let's just say I ended up doing what's not best on top of the marijuana or the edibles at the event. And I felt really disconnected from others. And I knew that it wasn't their fault. I knew. You know, we think we know something, but do you really know? I knew that it's not their fault. I am responsible for this feeling of disconnection from others. And I was like, okay, so I have to quit that bad habit. Okay, I'm going to quit that bad habit. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. I didn't know that phrase back then. But the self-awareness, oh man, so that's where the focus comes from too. So my self-awareness, honestly, like when I came back, it was already better. But after that 6th month of TechnoTutor, whoo, whole new level of self-awareness. Whole new level. Like, I would catch myself and breathe. I would catch myself in a reaction and then breathe. I could feel my thoughts coming slower than they used to come. They used to come instantly. Now it's like, I see it coming. What are you going to do to stop it? What are you going to do to stop it? I could really feel and see it coming like I've never seen it before. And the focus. After 6 months, I mean, I was relentless. I mean, yeah, if I can do this vocabulary builder every day that I don't even want to do, that doesn't even make me feel good, then I can do anything. And it was beautiful. Honestly, it was beautiful. Like, yeah, it was unlike any focus I've ever had. It was like, I started doing this thing called AWOL. Because the focus was like, literally like for hours. Sober, high, it didn't matter. For hours, I was working on my chief aim. Hours and hours. And I was having fun. And I wasn't thinking about something that would feel better than this right now. For hours, I was working on every day, I was focused on my chief aim, which was audio engineering at the time. Never had that level of focus. But then, with that focus came some very interesting changes. So I realized, okay, there's this thing I can do called AWOL, where I disappear. And I've changed AWOL, but when I first started, I was like, I'm not talking to nobody. I think the only person I allowed was my mom. Because, yeah, she was paying my rent at the time. My mom was paying my rent at the time in 2023. You're going to like how this progresses. And I know I'm taking my time, but bear with me. It's a great story, really, like looking back on it. I'm glad I have the memory, really, to retell it all. So it was very interesting. I was like, okay, like, I started slow. I was like, all right, start with the 7-day AWOL. But it was very interesting, too. I was on this medication called Prozac. So I was on this medication called Prozac for a long time, and I quit Prozac. TechnoTutor actually helped me quit Prozac because I saw how Prozac was self-honestly making me much less focused. And that's a big part of why I got more focused too. Is SSRIs, they might make you happy, they might make you feel really, really, really good, but I crashed my car. I wouldn't say I crashed it, but I hit the curb. That's all it took, was after I hit that curb. So it was interesting. So before, I just realized I got off Prozac and I'm like, how do I feel without Prozac? Wow, I feel fine. Great. I was crying at first, but you know, it got better. I was like, great, so I don't need Prozac. Great. I actually had less anxiety. I had much less, anxiety actually went away. I used to think anxiety was this disorder that I was cursed with. And it literally just went away when I stopped doing Prozac. I'm like, okay, so I was overstimulated. Great. My serotonin was getting fried. Great. No more Prozac. But then it was funny. I got on Zoloft again. Because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm so depressed. Oh, poor me. So I was like, because I still had emotional issues, you know. I still had a lot of them. Even though I was feeling better than I've ever felt and I was really focused, you know, I still had that crash. Especially in the evening. So I got on Zoloft. And then that's when it happened. I hit the curb off the Zoloft. And I'm like, but I felt so good. And I was like, oh, it's okay. Yeah, I'm alive. But I realized, I looked at myself in third person and I was like, man, you're happy and you're careless, but you're not in control. You're not as focused. You're not breathing. You're not as self-aware. Cut it out. So I cut it. I cut the Zoloft from there. And the reason I also went on Zoloft is because I tried the 7-day AWOL. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens when I don't talk to anyone for 7 days. I felt really, really good. I actually felt really, really good. I was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, AWOL's cool. But then, you know, like, I also became more of a giver. Through attending the self-perfected meetings, I also became much more of a giver too. I was like, I want to talk to people though. I do want to give to people. I do want to have great conversations and help them expand their mind. So I don't want to always be alone. So I started with the 7-day AWOL. But then things started changing again. Again, these changes. So much change. So much change. The 8th month, August. This is when the self-trust really kicked in. I forgot how many days I went AWOL. I think I might have tried the 14-day AWOL. I might have tried the 14-day AWOL at that point. And I was like, cool, you know? Or maybe the 12-day. I don't remember exactly, but I think I was like, okay, so like, I want to be a giver, but I also want to give to myself. And I also see how powerful I've become. So now I really deserve to give more time to myself because I'm more powerful. I can get a lot done if I don't talk to people as much. If I don't do random phone calls. Phone calls without a clear intention, phone calls without a clear purpose. Just hanging out on the phone. To pass the time, to feel good. I had self-trust like no other time I've ever had it in my life at that point. You know, I did that 14-day AWOL, and I had a self-love like I've never had before. Like, I was like, it was so cool. Like, I was alone, and I was the happiest I've ever been while alone. Like, I was getting happier and happier and loving myself more and more. And I realized, wow, you really trust yourself. You really are trusting yourself. You're finally learning how to trust yourself. Trust yourself more than anyone else. It's so cool. So cool. And yeah, then I went on to month 9, September. This is when I started to understand. I started to really, really, really understand how much my mom does for me. And I was like, okay, like, I want to start doing more for myself, but I also learned how to be grateful, be thankful, be appreciative of my mother, and understand that one day I won't have her. So I not only understood, I really understood it. I tell you what, this is the one time I'll allow the I think. I think I completely understood Nah. You know, it was a big pill to swallow. I knew. I think deep down I knew. I know that I knew. Because I remember how it felt, like really understanding it. I'm like, okay, like literally, like you are my biggest supporter. Like the truth is you are my biggest supporter. You do so much for me. And what do I do for you? And I saw that. I understood that. I realized and I understood that in a way where I've never understood it before. And from there, I really was like, all right, man, even if it's something small, work on doing things for your mom, bro. Because one day you're not going to have her. And she's done so much for you. The principle of making love real. My mom really did so much for me. And my ego was doing its best to make me ignore that, to make me turn a blind eye, to make me resist it. But at that moment, I just felt it. I felt it, and I understood perfectly. I was like, it's okay that my mom does all this stuff for me. Actually, still, back then, I still had some guilt. I still had some guilt, you know, because she was paying my rent. By the way, the guilt's... Alright, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it yet. Okay. So I still had some guilt, but I knew what to do to get rid of that guilt. Give more to my mom, man. Do you actually love your mom? Do stuff for her. And I never had that clear, pounding thought of like, bro, you're not doing enough for your mom. You don't deserve what she's doing for you because you don't do enough for her. And yeah, it really, my relationship with my mother instantly changed at that point. I started telling her, hey mom, I'm having a lot of feelings. We can't talk right now. I want you to know that it's never your fault. We just can't talk right now. And I started separating myself. But I knew that that's where I had to start. And then, you know, I'd feel better and I'd do something for her. I had a clear understanding of where I truly was at with my growth and how corrupt my mind really was. And our relationship has never been as bad ever since that. And I even learned, even in that month, I learned how to judge myself much less for not being 100% independent, but I also clarified what I wanted. I clarified that I wanted to be so independent that my mom doesn't have to do stuff for me anymore. And it was not easy feeling all this full blast like I've never felt before at 26 years old. It was not easy, but it was worth it. That's change. Change is an interesting process. That's another thing. A lot of things became more interesting. You know, instead of just looking at my pain and being like, oh, again with the pain, it became very interesting. I was like, why? I became very curious about how my mind worked in a way that I've never been curious after 9 months of using it. By the way, using it every day will give you the most clear results. Like I said, you miss it one day, do it double the next day. And if you miss it 3 days and you really can't figure out how to do triple dose, okay, you missed 1 day, but get back on, because every time you miss a day, you're stopping the process. That means your old mind is taking over. And you want that new mind to be the one driving you in the driver's seat. Old mind passenger? No, old mind's in the back. See, for this month, okay, we'll get into that. Okay. So, oh yeah, I wanted to fit it all into an hour. We'll see what I do. I'm not going to judge myself. I'm not going to second guess myself. So yeah, then, you know, in October, this is where a lot of stuff started really changing. Basically, I really learned how to not judge myself. I learned that if I continue to judge myself, I'm going to continue to feel like shit. I'm going to continue to doubt myself. I'm not going to get where I want to go. So I was like, okay. And then I also saw how all judgment is self-judgment. So like, let's say someone says something about you. And I didn't understand this at the time when they told me. It was interesting. Tell you what, I have a feeling. There we go. I'm going to stop saying I think. I like this. I have a feeling that I knew and I integrated the information of all judgment is self-judgment, but it wasn't at the conscious level where I could trust that concept yet. But deep down in my physical, I noticed that, I like someone said something I didn't like, and I knew that if I don't breathe, if I don't choose like my reaction / response, if I stay automatic in an unconscious cycle, it really is self-judgment. But I couldn't see it in my conscious mind. A lot of these changes, by the way, they weren't even they were clearly visible, but they weren't as clearly visible as I wanted for a long time, just so you know. With your journey, you'll see that. But yeah, I really saw that. I was like, okay, so I really just need to stop judging myself, or else I'm always going to feel like a loser or a failure or a piece of shit. So I was like, how am I going to do this? So I think that's when I was like, okay, you know what? So in September, I did a 21-day AWOL. I do remember doing a 21-day AWOL in September. I can't tell you the exact AWOL amounts that I did. I might have butchered the AWOL amounts, to be honest, guys. Bear with me. But I do know in October, I did a 22-day AWOL. And that's the month when I really understood. I understood it really clearly. That the job I was in was not going to let me pay the rent. You know what? Maybe I didn't understand it. Maybe I didn't even realize it. But I saw it. I saw it. How I was like, bro, I want to pay the rent. And that's going to really help me not judge myself. But I can't pay the rent with this job. And I kept asking for more hours, but I couldn't, the business wasn't doing well enough for me to get more hours, which I understand. But that was very interesting. I would drive to work and I would be really happy because I knew the better job was coming. But then I would leave work and be like, you know how people leave a job they don't like. The look on their face. You see it in traffic all the time. I was that guy. And I did a 22-day AWOL. And that 22-day AWOL was no joke, honestly. That 22-day AWOL was intense. I was waking up at all hours of the night, smoking hella marijuana to get through it. But it worked. After 22 days, I said, all right, guys. We might do this in a 2-part video. Yeah, we might do this in a 2-part video. Because, tell you what, if you don't want to watch the second half, that's okay. You don't have to. It's okay. You don't have to listen to my story. But, so I did the 22-day AWOL. And it's weird, it kind of made me a bit jaded. Like, when I came back, I was like, oh, so, like, you guys haven't changed that much? Or like, oh, okay, so this is like all the patterns that you guys are not willing to change? Okay, cool. So nothing changed. Okay. Man, cancel, squash them. I'm a better friend. I'm a better friend than I used to be, for sure. And that left me a bit distraught, for sure. But I knew, I was like, hey man, they can do whatever they want. I'm on a mission to feel good, not judge myself, and conquer the world. So I'm going to spend more time alone. It was really cool. During that 22-day AWOL, it was no joke. I finished the beat and guitar for my song that's now out called Advice by Abundant Alex. And yeah, I saw how much I got done. I saw the quality. I saw how this was the best audio engineering mixing job I've ever done, because I spent so much time alone, obsessed with my dreams and goals. Chief aim, put the blinders on. Never had that focus before TechnoTutor. Doing it consistently created that focus. And that focus is, there's no going back to the old level of focus. You will never be as distracted as you once were. So I went into November. So I had the 10 beats and guitars recorded and mixed. I was like, I did it! I remember even putting it in the blue ink. I was like, it's coming! And then November, I finally got the balls. Because what I also realized, I would say I realized this. Maybe I understood it, but I definitely realized it. That all that held me back from releasing music that I was proud of, and music that has purpose, and music that helps other people accomplish what they want to accomplish, was doubt and fear. Doubt and fear was all that really held me back. Wow. It's all that held me back. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do then? Every day, I worked on the song. I did a 23-day AWOL. Yeah, I think I did a 23-day AWOL. Maybe even a longer AWOL. I can't remember exactly. But I remember I took 27... Hold up. Yeah. I took 23 days. There we go. It took me 23 days to write all the lyrics for my first song and say, this is good enough. And I will say, without TechnoTutor, I didn't have that decision-making capability. I didn't have that ability to just let go of doubt and just release. Hey, this is what you get. Take it or leave it. I'm confident. You know, I really didn't have that. That's why I wasn't releasing music. So after spending 23 days on writing it, and of course it was because it was 2023, I was like, yeah, man, lucky number. And recording the fastest rap part I've ever recorded, 25 syllables in a line, I went into recording the vocals. And I broke down crying while recording the vocals. I was actually breaking a no-fap record. My bad. Not no-fap. Cancel, squash them. We don't want to think about what we don't want. I was breaking a semen retention record. No quotes. Cancel the quotes. Just call it semen retention. Don't call it the other one. Trust me. So I was actually also breaking a semen retention record that I've never broken before. I think it was, I got to day 27. Was it day 27? Whatever it was crazy. It was day 25 or 27. I can't completely remember. It's actually good that I can't remember, because there's a difference between your physical body, the knowledge bank, and conjuring things from memory. So like, I like broke down crying because like addiction. I realized like, oh wow, I'm just having a craving. Like everything's going so smoothly. I'm doing so good on these songs. But wow, first of all, I've never got this far in my music career. And I have never got this far with semen retention. And I was like, wow, like it was just a lot to take in. It was a lot of change. I had fear. I had fear of change. That had me shaking and like, yeah, I can like feel it right now actually. I can like feel the moment right now. I remember just crying on the floor. And it was so cool. After I cried, I got back up and got back to recording. I kept going after I cried. I didn't just cry and say, it's over. No, I said, there's a deadline. I have to release the music video, my first music video by the end of the month. And boom, I recorded it. I mixed it. Took me 3 days to record it. Yeah, it took me like 3 days to record it. And I swear it was like 6 days. I might be mistaken. It might have been 3 days of mixing, because then I'm like, okay, 23. Okay, so 26, 29. Yeah, okay, great. So it was 3. See, I can't even fully remember it because I was so automatically doing my dream. I was unconsciously doing my dream. I can't even remember it, man. But yeah, like, it was definitely 3 days. So yeah, so 3 days. By the way, on Thanksgiving, I worked on Thanksgiving. I was working on my song on the day of Thanksgiving. And then I went and had Thanksgiving. But I spent many hours working on Thanksgiving. So I mixed it in 3 days. And I love that, bro. 3 days, yeah, I was like 3 was the magic number. I was like, 3 days to record. That's the best you could do. Great. 3 days to mix. Great. And then on the final day, y'all ain't gonna believe this. Y'all ain't even gonna believe this. So, hold up. No, hold up. So it's, okay, you know what? I know for a fact the mixing was 3 days. I'll tell you that. I know for a fact the mixing was 3 days. Spent 3 days on the mixing. The recording, I actually can't, because it's not really adding up. But I'm trying my best to tell the story, you know. It was a year ago. More than a year ago. And basically what blew my mind during this month was, first of all, I had to record. This is a big change that I made when it came to music. I made a decision because I was so self-honest and had such self-trust in my real self, the real Alex, that I decided, you know what? My thing is I record all my vocals sober. And I do all my music videos sober. That's where a big change really started right there. Wow. I'm not going to spoil it yet. And yeah, this is going to be a 2-part video, but at least I did it. Oh wow, already noon? Hey, I'm having fun doing this, so I know this is going to help people. So yeah, so it was... Yeah, so recording vocals has to be sober, and music video has to be sober. And I remember I was getting close to the deadline, but I actually had no fear. I was actually really embracing the deadline. And I recorded my first music video. And you'll see how this changed too. My first time recording the music video, I thought I needed Adderall. And you can actually see, if you look at the AA music video, you'll see how stiff I am. And if you look at the Abandoned music video, okay. We'll go chronologically. Well, yeah, you'll see how stiff I am. It's not best. It was a 30 milligram. Not best. And we'll get into that. So I did that, right? And I do count Adderall as being sober because it doesn't make me like feel good. And after I recorded that, this was my first music video, guys. My first music video. I finished the music video by the end of the night. But here's what happened. After I finished the music video, I knew, all right, bro, time is running out. You gotta do this. And to be honest, I was emotionally drained. This is the hardest I've ever worked in my entire life. If I'm being 100%, hey, 2023 was the hardest I've ever worked in my entire fucking life. Hands down. Especially on my chief aim. And what I did, and this is how you know it's unconscious, I was creating what I wanted unconsciously. I had 2 1,000 milligram THC bottles. Like it's like this little oil you'd put into cooking. And I was just dosing those while working on the video. And I literally blacked out while working on the video. I blacked out while working on the video. But next thing you know, I woke up and I'm like, holy shit. The video, whoa, I released it and everything, man. This is so cool, man. Whoa, it's here. Christmas came, man. It was really, really cool. So, after that, I transitioned into something completely new. So December, this is when the change was really visible. Wow. I mean, my relationships got better because I was working on myself. That's something else I noticed in November. That was the most peaceful Thanksgiving I've ever had. Or one of the most peaceful for sure. But also, the reason my relationships got better is because I put in so much work on myself. I was genuinely content and happy. Okay, maybe not content. I don't know. But I was really genuinely happy about my chief aim. And then December rolled around, and this is where everything became so visible. It became so visible how much I've learned, and how I was living the words, and how I was living the change, and how I had become a self-leader. A self-leader. Because I noticed the more I led myself, the better I felt. The more confident I felt. So I'm like, all right, I'm a self-leader. And as a self-leader, I'm calling hella shots right now. And I love calling the shots. So I had to actually go on a 24-day AWOL. I'm remembering a 24-day AWOL Yeah, I'm remembering a 24-day AWOL. Yeah, I'm remembering a 24-day AWOL for sure. So I did a 24-day AWOL, which wasn't easy, but I knew it had to be done because I'm a self-leader. And then what happened is I didn't start doing this as a routine. I started doing it more for fun because I conquered fear in a way that I've never conquered it before. I was like, what would happen if I were to start practicing my new song, my brand new song, AA, outside? And every time I would do it, I'd have to be sober. That was the rule. Because I'm a self-leader, not someone who's led by drugs. So I would just do it like, not as a routine, but just kind of do it for fun. Just to see what would happen. Most people ignored me. If they didn't ignore me, they'd look at me like negative or kind of weird. Like, what are you doing? And I truly didn't care. I was so numb. I was so numb to their opinion because I was a self-leader. So yeah, I noticed I would get a rush when I would do it. So I'm like, all right, now go and do it at Walgreens. You tried it in the neighborhood. Oh, you tried it in front of Happy Donuts, but now go try it at Walgreens. And at Walgreens, I would actually meet people that way. I would be doing my thing, and they would come up to me and be like, cool, you know, they'd be like happy and like fist bump me and all that. And I would actually get numbers that way, which was really cool. I was like, whoa, I've never had this. I've never been a public figure like this. Like, and like, yeah, like my self-love was through the roof. And this is just the first year, guys. This is just the first year. So then I also realized that the longer I take on each lyric part, the more doubt I'll have and the more fear I'll have. So I'm like, okay, we're going to make it way less stressful than that November month. Okay, let's make this a really good ending to the year. So what I did is I would only spend 2 days on each part. Only 2 days. And I noticed I made a better song that way. Because instead of, you know, going back and forth, doubt and even logic, you know what, actually at the time it was logical. So that's really what happened too in this month of December, is the logic part of my brain was unlike any other. Basically, I learned how to kind of like turn off my emotions and feelings. And I know that sounds like magical, but like I learned how to shove them to the side really, really well because I believed in logic more. And yeah, so I'm like, all right, so 2 days each part, that's 12 days, cool. And then I was like, all right, now put in more time on the mixing. You know, I feel like the mix wasn't that good on the last one. Okay, put in more time on the mixing. And I had way less fear when recording this time too. So put in more time on the mixing. So it was 12 and then 6 days on the mixing. And this is what happened. I did my first open mic night. My first open mic night. First time ever. And guess what? I had to be sober for the open mic. So, by the way, guys, you don't have to watch this. You can listen to this. You don't have to watch If you want to actually get all the information, you don't have to watch it. You can just listen to it, because I'm going off the cuff. This is not scripted. I wouldn't do you like that. I know that you'll cancel, squash them. You see, that's just doubt. I know that you will get more benefit from me doing it this way. And I was going to do a 1-year testimonial last year, but I had doubt. Now it's like, whatever. If you want to know, you want to know. So I did my first open mic night, right? Man, I want to tell this story. This story is super cool. So it was hard. Like, I was like, okay, like, this is going to be my last smoke, and I'm going to, like, go, like, I understood the sweet, okay, I didn't understand the sweet spot, but I saw the sweet spot. I was like, I know I can make it, like, 6 hours without smoking weed, okay? I know I can make it that long. So I prepared for the open mic, and I was really sober. And that's when I truly felt the benefits of sobriety like I've never felt before. I felt more self-love than I've ever felt before, honestly. I felt a lot of self-love. That's specific. I don't want to say trust. I'm going to say love. I felt a lot of self-love. And I roll up to the open mic night. Oh, so you know what it was? By the way, I'll get into the... So for the recording, by the way, the recording was easier this time too. The recording only took 2 days. So yeah, it was 12, 14 for the recording, and then 20 as the mixing. Great. So... So when I got to the open mic night, I saw the woman I wanted, and I saw the woman I didn't want. And I was on a very high day of semen retention. I knew that I had to come in there on a high-ass day. And I came in there on a high-ass day. Because like I said, this TechnoTutor really helps you with your consistency. Once you do something once, instead of being like, oh, I got to do it again, you're just like, easy. Not even easy, but like unconscious. There we go. It gets easier, but unconscious. We just do it again. This is just what we do. This is the cycle. This is how I live. So I came in there on a hella good day, and yeah, I sat right next down to the girl I wanted, and I did my best. I tried to, you know what, I won't tell that part, but I did very good. I made a good impression on her and her friend. I did my first performance. This one guy with a beer got hella mad at me because he could tell that I'm shining like a motherfucker. And yeah, it was funny. The guy was like, yeah, go fuck that fat chick, dude. Drop the ball. Because my song says a money magnet won't drop the ball. And I was like, man, thank you. Because right now, you're just throwing bullshit my way. I know your intention. I can feel your intention. But you don't realize that you're making me stronger. Thank you. Thank you for the reference, buddy. Because, yeah, this chick really wanted to go home with me. And I was just like, she was, like, biting my ear and shit. And I was just like, nah, dude, I'm not going to do this. I don't love you. You're not who I want. And I said no. I said no. Even though I even had one beer that night too, I said no. Which I used to not have that ability with women. And this was after 9 months no sex. By the way, that's pretty phenomenal. Because if you know, you know, everyone's like, oh, I haven't had sex in this long, and they're they're thinking about what they don't want. Cancel, squash them. But yeah, so that's it right there. Like, I didn't take her home. I finished the second music video, and I drank alcohol. So I made it 5 months. The first time in the year, I made it 5 months. Had a beer at the airport. Did not feel good. Felt really nauseous. And then once again, this time I actually didn't feel nauseous, but I just saw how it made me lazy in a way like I've never seen before, never realized before. And yeah, that's it. I just went home, finished the music video. Yeah, I recorded the music video the next day, by the way. I did it all in one day. And from there, I spent a bit more time editing that music video too. And then boom. Okay, so this is the final one I wanted to talk about. So obviously, visibly living what I preach was done through, being sober. Because I was smoking weed every day. So for me to even be sober for a couple hours was fucking huge. But what really blew my mind was at the very end, I didn't feel good for the New Year's Eve celebration. But I knew, deep down, unconsciously, I knew that the best way to spend your New Year's Eve is don't overeat, don't drink, and just get really good sleep. But before you go to sleep, and envision yourself waking up as a brand new person, which actually happened. I woke up and felt like a brand new person. Happened this year again too, but okay, we'll get to that. Before you do that, envision who you want to be. Envision yourself as a new person. I did that, and I didn't feel good. I didn't feel good while envisioning it, but I knew that I was doing the right thing. Long enough, consistently. Woke up the next morning, felt like a brand new person. That's 1 year of TechnoTutor. If you found this interesting or helpful, or if it even lit your fire because you want to change, you want to get better at something, check out the next video, which is my 2nd year of TechnoTutor.